Welcome back to the Roman Monero Show, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor, quite frankly. I'm going to put it that
It's
way.
an
It's an
honor.
honor. It's an honor, right? It's an honor to introduce my next guest, in whom I have such a great deal of respect and love for. His name is Matthias Tibbs Jesse. How are you doing, Matthias?
I'm doing good. It's such an honor to be here. I'm wearing this shirt and the tie, because I want to show my respect. I'm so glad to be here. I've been wanting to do this for a long
Thank
time,
you.
and I'm glad that we're finally doing it.
Thank you, my friend. Well, like I said, I really want to thank you for coming on. I think we're gonna dive into a lot of different topics regarding your take on the LGBTQ plus community, your take on transgenderism, your take on wokeism, your take on President Trump's foreign
Yes.
policy, President Trump's immigration plan. Should we allow amnesty for farm workers? We're going to dive into all of this. We're going to dive into love life, relationships, hookup culture,
Perfect.
OnlyFans. Guys, we got a lot on the schedule for today, but without further ado, I just want to do one quick thing. I want to give an announcement to our newest and official sponsor, Ani Michelle Nail Polish. Guys, Ani Michelle Nail Polish is a wonderful American made company. It's a company made in the USA, but also made in California. It is a company that aligns with President Trump and RFK Jr.'s America First agenda. And how so? Well, let me explain. By allowing the Maha movement to be implemented into their production. Well, they are vegan, cruelty free, and seven toxin free, guys. They align with the Make America Healthy Again movement. Guys, this is why I love them. They are aligned in our show, in our values. They put God first. They love their country. They're true patriots at Ani Michelle. Ladies, not guys, ladies, go check them out at www.animichelle.com. That's www.animichelle.com. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Matthias,
Perfect.
talk to me. How have you been lately? I mean, we haven't talked to each other in a while, my friend.
I know. It's been a minute. I'm doing really well. It's summertime. It's good. Fairs around. Um, you've been really busy though. In Florida, in down south in Norco. But I've been doing well. I'm pretty busy. I've got a lot of stuff going on, but all praise to God. I'm glad to be busy.
No, I mean, staying busy is good, right? We all need to stay busy. So tell me a little bit more about your little hat company with Friday's Eve. That's what it's called, correct?
That's what it's called. So this is the hat I'm wearing right now. Um, a lot of people ask me the origin of the name. So we started this uh, company, I guess you can call it brand, um, back in the spring. It was me and a friend. We literally thought of it every time we had ag class together. And the idea behind it is my good friend Vinny Orlando, who you may be familiar with. Um, he did this thing back when I was a freshman, and he was a junior, where every Thursday on he had like this other Instagram account. He posted Friday Eve, and it was just a kind of like a picture, and uh, I wanted, kind of like a culture started behind it because I started doing it, and every time it was Thursday, people would come up to me and say like, "Oh, it's Friday Eve." So, anyways, we made this brand. It says almost there on the top, and the idea is that Thursday is the day before the weekend, and that you're almost there. Keep pushing it, um, and the idea was to just kind of keep it local, and
Yeah.
have friends wear it all over the place at the lake, at parties, stuff like that,
Yeah.
and
That's
that's what it is.
awesome. So I have to ask you, has Mr. Orlando ever considered prosecuting you and suing you for copyright infringement?
He has it. I don't think he has. I hope he hasn't. We've talked about it, and he was really happy about it. He actually wanted to buy a hat, and it's thanks to him. He's a really good friend of mine.
So is Mr. Orlando involved in any business adventures regarding this company? Is he tied to the business at all, or is he just a bystander?
As of right now, he's not doing like anything for the business right now. Like he's not, like that. But he could be in the future. I'm not opposed to it at all. If anything, I'd encourage it. And but it wouldn't be here without him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here without him, right? That's awesome. So you
Yeah.
said we is the friend you were referring to, Mr. Orlando?
It's not actually. It's Mr. Cole
So I
Taylor.
didn't think so.
Right,
It's
Mr.
Cole
Cole
Taylor.
Taylor. Mr. Cole Taylor. Yeah, yeah. I gotta be honest, and Cole, if you're listening to, I think he can agree. Uh, Mr. Cole Taylor is more of a overseer of business operations. I don't want to pride myself saying I do all the work, but a lot of it, most of it, 99% of it goes through me. And Mr. Cole Taylor is there when I need his help, and I'm very thankful for his friendship, for his support. But I am, I'm proud to call him my business partner.
That's awesome. What do your margins look like? How much does it cost to make, and then how much are you selling it for?
I don't want to disclose the exact numbers of how much it costs to make. I'm the way I'm doing it. I'm keeping it cheap, as of right now. Um, but to buy a hat right now, we're selling this black one and these newly dropped pink ones. We're selling them for $20 each. I think it's a good price. And it's just a way to kind of rep the culture and just support the business.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to flip the conversation a little bit. I wanted to know more about your hats, and I don't think our audience knows a lot about your hats. So, where can they check them out?
Right now, we don't have a business, or sorry, we do have a business. We don't have a website, so right now it's kind of like by word of mouth. But the main way I would recommend if you want to buy a hat, go to Wear Fridays Eve on Instagram and just send a DM and we'll figure something out.
That's awesome. So, I'm going to flip the conversation because we have a lot on the agenda. What I want to
Okay.
ask you is this. I was having this good conversation with my good friend from Florida. I met him in Florida. He works on part of the Turning Point USA chapter at Texas Tech, and he's from the Texas area, the Midlands of Texas that just got hit with the horrible floods. I don't know if you were aware. So I had
Right.
a wonderful conversation with him, and we were going back and forth. And I brought to his attention that under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and the Biden administration, we saw record low enlisting numbers in the military. And one of the reasons I believe it was so low was because of the Afghanistan withdrawal. So,
Mhm.
if you're familiar, the Afghanistan withdrawal was when Joe Biden decided to basically take our military and take our assets in regards to weaponry and guns and choppers and all of that. And he basically he took us out of Afghanistan. But guess what? Sleepy Joe was a little too sleepy. He forgot 13 U.S. soldiers and
Right.
billions and billions of dollars of equipment. So
Right.
he left, but he left with U.S. soldiers still there, and the
He did.
consequences were evident.
He did.
The Taliban was flying choppers, U.S. choppers, with American soldiers hanging from them, and they were brutally murdering American soldiers, and then
Right.
they were filming it. And then I remember I was sitting on my couch watching Fox News, and Hannity at 10 o'clock would be, talking about this, and it
Right.
was it was a shame. But what does this show? This shows that we are an incompetent country. Since
Right.
then, we've had a
Right.
little bit of a turnaround. And now, Pete Hegseth, the DOD, and President Trump have seen a skyrocket in enlisting numbers. In fact, we're at an all time high. And the U.S. Army hit their recruiting, basically, kind of the recruiting rate that they want to meet. They actually beat it by 4 months. That's how much people are so urgent to say, hey, I want to go serve my country. It's a beautiful thing because
Mhm.
lethality is back. So, my question for you is, one of the reasons that our military is back and it's back better than ever, and people are wanting to enlist, people like Champ Morrissey, our good friend, is
Right.
because DEI is gone, wokeism is gone, transgenderism is gone, and the
Right.
military is now back to merit based and lethality based.
Right.
They're not trying to play politics, they're not trying to indoctrinate the US troops with transgender ideology or wokeism or DEI. So what I want to ask you is, how has DEI, and you obviously know what DEI is, correct?
Of course. Of course.
Yes. So how has DEI killed our culture?
Um. Okay. What to? answer your question, the first thing I want to say is that, and this goes for anything that we talk about, for the rest of today. The first thing I want to say is that I'm not the most experienced guy that that talks about politics. I'm not very into politics as much as you are, but I do think I know a little bit, and more than that, I think I'm very on board with common sense. Um, and so
Me
I
too.
think the DEI movement, I think right. So I think the DEI movement was something that kind of came very recently. Um, I don't think if we can call it a movement. I don't think the DI movement was uh, really present, say 5, 6 years ago, as much as it is now. And I think that it's pushed, um, you know, anybody from students to, uh, politicians and anywhere in between to focus on more of how do I put it? Kind of like,
Um,
focusing. I don't.
Matthias,
I'm
I'm not
looking
gonna
for the
lie,
word.
it's breaking up really bad.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's now I can, but it was breaking up really, really bad.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, what I was trying to say was, I'm all over the place, but I think that DI has pushed people anywhere from students to politicians to focus on getting where they want to be for the wrong reasons, for who for their sexuality, for their beliefs, for their skin color, and that's not what's important. I think take a firefighter for example. I'm just using a random example. What's the difference between a white firefighter and a black firefighter? They're still fighting
So
fires. They're still out there saving the day. And I think DI is focusing. What DI encourages is that the black firefighter, for example, is has more to prove than the white firefighter. If that makes sense.
no, it does, and it's a really good point. And I guess what I want to ask you is DEI racist?
Um, I think elements of it. I don't want to go ahead and say that DI is 100% racist, but I do think a big part of it is. And the reason why I believe that is because um, there's students that get accepted to colleges now just because that they're gay or just because that they're black, and they kind of use the DEI card to get them there. And I'm just using students as an example, but it happens all over the place. Politics, just anywhere. And so to answer your question, I think a big part of it is.
So then I'm going to ask you a follow up. Would you consider DEI, if you think part of it's racist, do you think part of it also lowers expectations?
100%. I 100% agree
Okay,
with that.
100%.
100%.
So I'm going to answer the question I just asked before that one for you. DEI is absolutely racist, and you can say it. That's okay. Because
Right.
DEI is dead in the Trump administration because they have made a clear line that across all departments, whether it be the Department of Justice to the Department of Homeland Security to the Department of Defense, it doesn't matter. The standard set is merit based. In fact, Pete Hegseth said this in Florida. He made it very clear. The military is going to be colorblind. Colorblind, gender fluid. That's what he said. So yeah, colorblind, gender fluid, and merit based. And what's he mean by that? Well, he means that common sense is back. And if you are the best for the job, you're going to get the job. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, midget, dwarf, doesn't matter.
Amen.
Gay, straight,
Amen.
it doesn't matter. Because the best at the
100%.
job deserve the job. You know what I mean? And I think this
Amen.
concept that liberalism, excuse me, are you
No, I was
there?
just saying I agree. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So I think this concept that liberalism has exposed is they're basically exposing the fact that DEI is a good thing. They're trying to convince the American people that, for example, plane, an airline company must have, as of 2026, start hiring 50% of their hiring now has to be for black pilots. So what does that do? Well, the next time I go step on an airplane at Delta Airlines that said, hey, 50% of our pilots have to be black, it doesn't make me racist to question that. You know what, the next time I step on Delta Airlines and I have a black pilot, I'm going to have hesitation, I'm going to have
Right.
questions, and I'm going to have doubts, because from the top down the CEO made it clear that they're hiring black pilots to meet
Right.
a DEI expectation, a DEI
Right.
standard. That doesn't make you racist.
Right.
I'm sorry,
And
I don't want my plane to crash. Like,
right.
I'm sorry, neither do you. You don't want to
Right.
use your life. You don't want to lose your life. I don't want to lose my life. So
Right.
DEI is dead
Um,
in the Trump administration.
and if I could just add on to that, I think
Please.
two things. Two things. Number one, I think what the whole administration, that whole movement, woke movement, did was to distort and cause um, division. Because before that wasn't a problem. Black, white, like it wasn't a problem. And so I think more than just that, it causes separation and it causes people to be against each other. And the second thing I want to say is that a lot of people don't think about, what if the roles were reversed? What if we lived in a world where, or in a country, in a society where the white was the minority, and white was the, whatever that is, whatever that means, white people were, the minorities in this DI situation. Would you want to hire a white pilot, for example, just because he's white? It doesn't matter if a lot of people use a black pilot as an example, or an Asian
No.
pilot, right? But
Right.
if it was a white,
Matthias,
right,
I couldn't agree more. I'm going to use a modern day example that we don't have to make up. Go look at the National Basketball Association. If you are the CEO of the Lakers, if you are the general manager of the Lakers, and you
right,
said, hey guys, we're going to meet this DEI standard, and we're going to say, as of 2026, the start of the 2026 season, 50% of our players are going to be white no matter what.
right.
How
I
are the
didn't,
Lakers going to do next season? You think they're
right,
going to win championships? You think they're going to
right.
make the playoffs?
I didn't even think
Are
of that
they?
as an example. I
Are
probably,
do you think the Lakers are going to make the playoffs?
I mean, are you saying depending on whether they hire 50% black players, or sorry, white players?
Yes.
I mean,
They're
depends. If they got 50 Cooper flags on there, 50% Cooper flags on there, they might make the playoffs.
You get the point though, right? If
100%.
the if
100%.
the National Basketball Association said 50% of our players coming into this league must be white, what do you think's going to happen? Ticket sales are down. Guys start getting
100%.
paid less.
100%.
Viewership's down. Sponsorships are down, and people are like, why would I want to support this company that doesn't strive for excellence? Matthias, you and I behind cameras were talking about this earlier. We were talking about how people in this country are craving excellence. They strive for excellence. People want to be around excellence. DEI lowers expectations and it degrades excellence. And this is why it's been a failed ideology that the left has tried to indoctrinate and force onto our kids in schools and onto us in this culture. Is that fair to say?
100%. I 100% agree.
I mean, it's so interesting because what DEI has done is they've created this distorted reality and then tried to convince the American people that you were dumb, that you were a bigot, that you were a racist, that you were transphobic for opening your mouth and questioning it. I'm sorry, I have a First Amendment right, and I will never be silenced for questioning why? Why? I'm questioning the Trump administration right now with the Epstein files. Like,
Amen.
you can question in this country and you shouldn't have to be ashamed of it. And
100%.
and that's, you know what I mean? I think the second that we start not thinking for ourselves and we start basically obeying a certain agenda that's being portrayed and forced upon us through corporate media, through legislation, I we we're a dead society. You know what I mean? We have to have conversation. And that's a big
And
reason why I started the show, is to have conversation.
right. Right. I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more.
Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about immigration. Is that
Okay.
is that okay with you?
100%. Let's talk about it.
Okay. I'm going to ask a very simple, straightforward question. Do you support President Trump's immigration policy?
I do.
You do. And is it that simple?
No. I don't think it's that simple.
What do you mean?
Um, like, well, here, can I speak on this for a second?
Yeah, that's what you hear.
So, I agree 100% with what Trump is doing with his idea, um, to that we're not under the Biden administration. You got just everybody coming in. There was no DI. Everybody was coming in. From everywhere, and that's part of the reason. They don't realize it, but the same people complaining about sleeper cells from Iran in this country are the same people that said that we're not criticizing Biden for letting all the illegals come in. And the reason the sleeper cells are in here is because of the Biden administration. Um,
It's a
that's
great point.
that's that's off topic. Um, the reason I don't think it's so simple, I'll tell you why. Um, there has to be law and order in this country, and the law is that you are not allowed to come into the country without legal documentation, and that's everywhere else around the world as well. It's not an only American thing. That's everywhere else in the world. Um, but it's not as black and white as people try and make it to be. Um, there is a big part of our economy that comes from the um, illegal community. I'm not saying that's right, because it's not. It's exploit. It's kind of stealing. It's not right. Um, and but there also is families being torn apart. There's good illegal immigrants, good people, non-criminals that are living in this country, but at the same time, um, you are guilty of breaking the law of coming in the country without legal documentation. So to answer your question, I think I agree with Trump, trying to clean the country up, um, and deport those who have
Well,
broken the law.
I want to correct you real quick. I'm going to correct you
Okay.
real quick because you said trying to clean the country up, and that's interesting. Because in the month of June, 30,000 illegal aliens were deported, and that's the most in half a decade. So when we say try, let's be very clear by the words we're
Okay.
using, because
Right.
he's not trying. Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, and the Trump administration have been very clear. They aren't trying. They are. They are out in the
Right.
streets, and they are providing the American people with the biggest mass deportation efforts in American history. And what we saw in the big beautiful bill was basically a promise from the executive branch saying that the the executive branch will execute a mission which is deporting 1 million illegal aliens per year, and that's what the Trump administration has promised. And they said at minimum we will deliver on this promise. At minimum we will get 1 million illegal aliens deported each year. So
Hmm.
let's be very clear. And I agree with everything you were saying, but I just want to make sure the audience understands the
Right.
Trump administration
Right.
isn't trying. They are doing. ICE
Right.
officers are out in the streets of Los Angeles getting
Right.
criminal illegal aliens off of our streets.
Right.
So finish
Right.
what you're saying. I just wanted to correct you on that.
Um, yeah, just two more things. Number one, I was actually listening to your show. I forget who it was, but you said that, or no, I don't think it wasn't a podcast, but you posted this and you said that if you come in to the country without due process, how do you expect to leave without due process? And I think that's a very good point. Obviously, it's more
Thank you.
complicated than that. It's obviously more complicated than that, but I think that's a very good point. Um,
Thank you.
Thing number two is that I think there's a very big element of a lot of these protesters in Los Angeles and all over the place that um, are protesting against this because it's Trump. Um, if it was Obama doing it, Obama had more deportation. Of course, he played the game a little differently, but Obama was notorious for his immigration policy and for his deportations.
He
Um,
deported more individuals and illegal aliens than President Trump. So did
right,
Bush. So did Biden. Or,
right.
not
So
Biden, excuse me. So did Bill Clinton. Sorry.
right, and so I think a big part of it, not all of it, but a big part of a lot of these people out here protesting that have no idea are doing it just because Donald Trump is doing it. And I think that's what's so dangerous. Like you said, we were talking about this earlier, and something that I said that sticks with me, and it's heavy to hear. But I think that the people who oppose Trump are no longer they're no longer trying to ruin his career and get him out of the office. I sincerely think that the people who oppose Trump are really trying to find him dead, and they're really trying to kill him. And that's when they'll rest. And even then, who knows? But yeah.
So you said they're really trying to kill him. Does that concern you?
It does, because if it's if it's Trump, then who else will it be? It's not. It's whoever's next. It's whoever does not support their toxic agenda.
So you know what's interesting is you're right. If if they wipe out President Trump, that's a statement to anybody that doesn't conform to their radical ideology. That is a statement, and that is saying you must conform or you will die. You must convert to our woke DEI, transgender liberalism, Marxist, socialistic ideology, or
Right.
you're gonna die. If you can't support men playing in girls' sports, die. If you can't agree that men can get pregnant, die. If you
Right.
can't, be inclusive with my pronouns, die. If you
Right.
want the border secured, die. You get the
Right.
point.
Right. 100%.
And that is the bigger game we're fighting. We're fighting a spiritual war in this country. And I love seeing that so many young Gen Z students, entrepreneurs, athletes are coming to God. They're coming back to church. They're coming to
Right.
Christ. So praise God. So I'm going to
Right.
ask you, it's going to be a difficult question.
Let's do
I
it.
want to I want you to answer it according to what you feel. So President Trump is having the biggest mass deportation efforts in American history. A
Right.
lot of people in his corner within the White House are asking the president to provide amnesty for farm workers. So, amnesty is a legal pathway to citizenship, a much easier way to basically give opportunities to farm workers so, they can stay. Would you be in support of providing amnesty to farm workers?
Um, I don't think that it's fair that it would just be farm workers, because if it's farm workers, then I feel like that's liberals trying to say that just Mexicans are the farmers, and that's I feel like if farm workers are giving amnesty, then what about bus drivers, or what about construction workers, or what
So,
about
what if we said essential workers?
um
Would you be in favor of providing amnesty for essential workers?
I'd have to think more about it, but I like the sound of that. Just and the reason I do is because I work with a lot of them that are actually happen to be legal, and
Where is it?
just what's that?
Where do you work?
The family business, right?
Okay.
Um, but
Tom Homan, we know where to get him.
uh,
No. Yeah, so anyway, I'm gonna touch a touchy subject now, but finish what you were saying.
no, no, I'm glad we're having this conversation. I think this is a conversation a lot of people are not willing to have, and I'm glad we're having it. But like I said before, it's definitely not as black and white as people try to say. People try to say that everyone has to be deported, and they're super upfront about that. And there's people that say that no one has to be deported, and they're super upfront about that. And it's just not that black and white. Um,
So,
so
yeah, that's
to an-
interesting.
to an- to answer your question, um, I would I would be I kind of would. It's kind of hard for me to answer, because there's a part of it that sounds nice, but there's another part of it that doesn't really, that seems kind of fishy. If that makes sense.
Okay, so I want to bring something up to you. In 1986, Ronald Reagan ran on mass deportations like President Trump, but guess what? In 1986, he also provided amnesty to farm workers, and it was probably the biggest mistake in his in his administration and in his tenure as president, and he suffered terribly from it. He actually lost the Hispanic vote, and it hasn't been since President Trump until Republicans won the Hispanic vote back because of the utter disaster of amnesty for farmers that Ronald Reagan implemented into his immigration policy. So I think that's interesting, and that must be noted. So I want to hear your take now.
Okay.
This is going to be a touchy subject, but we ask unfiltered questions in this show.
Of
So,
course.
Tom Homan announced on the Charlie Kirk show recently, last week, he said, Tom Homan has announced ICE will deploy criminal prosecutors to businesses breaking the law. And they say, if we do not start arresting business owners who are breaking federal law by knowingly hire illegal aliens, they will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. So I want to ask you, do you think that we should be in support of prosecuting local businesses for hiring farm, migrant labor?
Um, I think on this question I lean towards the no side, and I'll tell you why. I understand that um, the businesses that are hiring these immigrants are in a way kind of robbing in a sense. They're kind of it's it's obviously cheaper labor, and it's kind of screwed up. Just to put it flat out there, but at the same time, I don't think that prosecuting business owners is the right way to go about it. Just because I think a lot of the time, and I'm no expert. I don't want to say something I don't
No, I
understand.
know.
Yeah,
But the reason we're
but
having this conversation is because Gen Z is the next generation to take over the United States of America and run this country. These are the next politicians, the next attorneys, the next doctors, the next
right,
entrepreneurs, okay? So the reason we need to have these conversations is Gen Z is the most conservative generation in the last 50 years, and we are seeing a resurgence in God in this generation. So, arguably, this is the most, not arguably, but the stats say it. This is the
right,
most Christian conservative generation since our grandparents. So, what's
cool,
that mean? Well, that means that this generation is headed in a very strong and beautiful and brilliant direction, but we need to have these conversations. So, you're not supposed to be an expert. But the fact that you're willing to sit down and have a common sense conversation shows you're already on the right track. So, I just want to put that flat out
thank,
there. But finish
thank
what you were saying.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I'm no expert, so I'm not in any position to say whether it's right or wrong. And you could completely correct me, but in my personal opinion as of now, and I'm always open to anything, to learn why it would be a good idea. But in my personal opinion as of now, I don't think I would be in favor of prosecuting local business owners for hiring illegal immigrants.
So you would be more in favor of prosecuting and deporting illegal aliens back to their country of origin than prosecuting and imprisoning business owners. That's correct.
Yes, yes, Greg. I think that makes
Oh,
more sense.
sweet. I makes more sense to me too. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding you correctly. Um, we're gonna
Right.
flip the conversation. It's been a lot of political talk. We're gonna turn this conversation into dating. Have you ever had a girlfriend?
I have.
And how long did that relationship last?
Um, lasted a good. I think we knew each other. The relationship, not like dating, but just knowing each other, and being close to each other, lasted something like 6 months, something like
Six
that.
months.
Yeah.
Very nice. And then you guys were in the intimate relationship for how long?
Like 3 months, something like that.
Okay. So we're going to dive into dating, hookup culture, and this kind of relationship conversation because it's something that we need to talk about. I want to ask you about hookup culture. So you've had a girlfriend, you also have been single, and
Right.
all in the tenure of your high school career. Is that fair to say?
Right.
Okay. So I want to ask you, what is it like in regards to girls that are trying to maybe get with Mr. Matthias Eperjesi. What is it like when you have a girlfriend rather when you don't? So if my question's not making sense, I'll put it this way. Are you getting more girls when you have a girlfriend or when you don't?
Um,
Why
I
is there
uh,
hesitation, my friend?
I gotta think about it. I gotta give you a good answer. I don't really think. I think at least when I had a girlfriend, I don't think I wasn't really getting like I wasn't trying to go out there and put myself out there. If that like I don't. What do you mean by getting girls? I don't understand that.
Like I've so something I've seen in a lot of this culture is girls almost like the toxicity of life. They like causing problems. They like stirring shit up. So what I've
I
noticed
agree. I agree.
is what I've noticed is in this culture that we live in, young ladies will be more attracted, whether they are actually physically attracted to a young gentleman or not. They would rather and try to pursue a gentleman that actually is dating another girl because they like causing problems. They like the divide. They like the toxicity. So,
Mhm,
and they like the attention, right?
mhm.
So I've noticed that. And I wanted to ask you firsthand is, did you see that firsthand in your relationship? Are you understanding the question?
Yeah. Personally, I've never gone through like they call that people call that home wrecking. I've never gone through someone trying to actively like home wreck. I've definitely seen it, but I don't. At least in my like personal life, I've never seen like that be too big of a problem. But
Yeah,
I've seen it.
that's
Yeah.
interesting. What ended your relationship?
I think it was just it. It was a lack of communication. There was a lot of other problems, but I think mostly it was a lack of communication. And I don't want to dive too deep into it because, of course, I respect her privacy and everything. But um, she,
No,
we just
I understand that.
I think lack of communication is the best way to put it. And there was definitely things I could have done better. There was definitely things she could have done better. But that's what happens. You live and learn. And yeah.
Right. So you learned that going forward in an intimate relationship, you have to communicate better. Please add on to that. How so?
Man, it's all there's you got to communicate about everything. And I don't want to sound like I'm, married for 20 years, but in my experience, there's just things that you have to really put yourself in the other person's shoes and um you got to you really just got to communicate about everything and things that you think make you sound insecure, things that you think aren't important or things, stuff like that. Like you just have to communicate. You have to be an open book in order for a relationship to work, I think. And I don't think that's just intimate relationships. I think that's with friendships too. I think if you want to have a real friendship with somebody, you can't have any you can't be superficial. And most of the times, those crosses in people's personalities and those people's things that they think make them insecure. That's a lot of times is what makes the most important and the most special relationships.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you believe a man should be a protector?
I do, 100%.
So do you even believe that as at a more intimate but still kind of loose, light, early college, high school relationship, a male masculine figure should still be a protector?
100%. It'll look different, obviously, as you grow up, but I think a male should be the protector, 100%.
I couldn't agree more because I was having this conversation with somebody, and I believe that a man's biggest role in a female's life when it comes to an intimate relationship, yeah, you obviously have to have a good relationship. Obviously, you have to have good chemistry. You have to, be able to communicate with each other. All of that. But I believe in the end, a woman must feel safe and secure in a man and in the
Yes.
man that she's with. And I believe wholeheartedly, and it says it in the Bible. It's scripture that a man must be a protector, and a
100.
man when dating a woman or when in a intimate relationship with a woman, I believe his greatest honor is to protect and provide for that woman. And I believe even at a college relationship, or a high school relationship, I personally believe in my like what I've seen as an outsider looking in, because I've never really been in a real intimate relationship. Um,
Right.
and I believe that if a man can make a woman feel safe and secure, he has done his job. And what I mean by that is, yes, there's got to be a lot of different components, but he's done essentially his primary role. So, like, if she's, out in a public setting and there's a lot of people, if he leaves her, that's very problematic, right? So, you need to make a woman, you got to be able to make a woman feel very safe and secure in the relationship. You would agree with that?
I 100% agree.
So then, like, in your opinion, because you were in a relationship and now you're out of one, what I want to ask you is, like, what does that look like at a high school level, at a college level? What does it look like to make a woman feel safe and secure in the relationship?
That's a really good question. Um, I think at my kind of our age, um, to make a woman feel secure in the relationship, it doesn't look like, you have to be the financial provider or anything like that. Um,
No.
I think it looks like, um, you know, just being secure and being, devoting
You know what
your,
it is? I just it was on the tip of my tongue and I just got it. And this we're gonna that's why I'm gonna cut you off. I'll let you finish. But
okay,
you know what it is? It's going into a social setting and know that your companion, your spouse, that guy, from a female's perspective, that guy that you're with has your back. You can look at him and you can know the second you go into a social environment, a public setting, a crowded setting, maybe, you know he's got your back. You know that he'll go and fight for you, and even at a even a less intense level, he'll go and take a bullet for you. You know that. That's
right,
how
right,
strong your relationship is, that you can walk into any environment and know he's got your back.
right, right.
So anyway, finish
Um,
what you're saying, but it was on the tip of my tongue and I just got it,
yeah,
so I wanted to
yeah.
I wanted to let you know.
Um, I think that's the most that's kind of like the, I don't want to say cliche, but that's like the most obvious, uh, what it looks like, and I 100% agree. What I was trying to say more is that I think it looks like having, I think the best word is trust, and knowing that your companion is there for you and you only, um, and that they're, like you said, just having your back and not doing anything to betray you, um, and just being, just having your back. I really like that.
So we're gonna change. We need to talk about cheating. There's a lot of cheating going on between Gen Z. Why?
There's a lot to do. I think people just
And
can't.
yeah,
What's that?
go ahead. Sorry.
Um, well, you say, why is there a lot of cheating? I think the most simple answer is because uh, people can't control like their feelings. I guess like their lustful feelings. They can't realize that, if you have, um, they'd rather take the instant gratification than the, um, you know the commitment of a relationship.
So, that's very interesting. You mentioned a lot of different things. I liked instant gratification because I think that's on a bigger scale, on a financial scale, on a sexual scale, on a lot of different scales. We'll dive into that in a second. But in regards to cheating, you said, well, they just can't control themselves and they just have this lustful, prideful nature that almost absorbs them and takes over them. That's interesting. Because in all generations in the past, I'm sure they all had, our fathers, our grandfathers, they all had lustful nature at times. They
Right.
all had this desire to act on their sexual desire. So what I want to ask you is this: why is this generation more likely to cheat than any other?
Um, I I actually I don't know if I got a good answer for you. I didn't live in other generations. I wouldn't know what things were
No, no, no.
different.
I understand that. I understand what you're saying, but I guess what I mean is this generation is more likely to cheat than any other. Okay, why is that? You are a Gen Z kid. You are in high school right now. You've had a relationship. You go to parties. You socialize with people. You have friends who have cheated. Why? Why is it that they're more likely to cheat than any other time? Is it social media? Is it this? Is it societal pressure? What is it? Is it pure unhappiness? What is it? Can you try to put a finger on it?
I think I going back to what I was saying. I think it's just the instant gratification. I think that's as simple as it. I don't think social media plays too much of a big part in it. Like I don't think that that's a very I don't think it's a very encouraged thing, at least from what I've seen. But it's just the lack of maturity, the need for something instant at the moment, something better, I guess, than what you have, what you think is better than what you have. Um, and to be honest with you, I think most of the time it's literally less. It's like, is she prettier? He or she prettier, hotter, more attractive than what I've got right now? And if they are, then screw it. You only live once.
Is a man more likely to cheat on a woman, or a woman more likely to cheat on a man? From
Um,
your experience, from your experience.
from my experience, I I don't know. I've seen a lot from both sides. I think if I'm being honest, I've seen more men cheat
I have
on
two.
their I've seen more men cheat on their girlfriends. But I've also seen a lot of girlfriends cheat on their boyfriends. But to give you a good answer, I really honestly gotta say I think more boyfriends cheat on their girlfriends, and part of that is because there's kind of like like a bro culture that's like everyone's hyping them up and saying that that's you know pardon my French, but fuck that, like you got this, uh whoever you're cheating with, is better than what
Wait,
you
did
got
you
back
just say
home.
the F word?
Am I not allowed?
No, I mean, you can. I just got to make sure I put viewer discretion is advised. I wasn't expecting an F bomb. It's been a fairly good conversation, and it was really random, but it's fine.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to put emphasis on what I was trying to say. I'm sorry. I'll try and keep it clean.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm just busting your balls. I'm just busting your balls, Matthias. Um,
All right. All
you know,
right.
I'm just busting your balls, asshole. I'm just busting your balls. So, I feel like young women, and obviously you have some crazy girls. You do. I personally feel like, from my experience, what y'all
You
laughing
just that's
for?
you keep going.
No, what? What's the joke?
I just didn't understand. You just said I have a lot of girls. I didn't. I mean, it's a pretty incriminating thing to say.
It's an incriminating thing to say. There's a lot of incriminating things we could say about you, but we're not. We're not. We're not. Right?
Oh man.
So, um, no, but guys, what I'm talking about is, there's a lot of young women that I've met and that I've had the pleasure of just having a good conversation with, and I've talked to them about their relationships or whatever. And I feel like the biggest thing I've noticed, in my personal opinion, is I feel like young guys are absolutely the biggest failures when it comes to communication. I think most of the time young women, they know what they want, and they know they're typically like I would say, for the most part, pretty good girlfriends. Like they want to have a nice loving relationship. I think guys typically F it up because they have failed in the department of communication. And I think you've seen the consequences of it. And the consequences are guys are literally pissing off their girlfriends because they had a lack of communication. The girlfriend now is, bitching at them, and then all of a sudden the guy is, F this, screw this, I'm gonna go get drunk. He gets drunk, his buddies hype him up, and now he's making out with a girl that night. And then it's like, video gets posted, it's on social media, it's on Snapchat, and now his girlfriend's like, "What the f? You first, you weren't communicating, and now you're cheating on me. I'm done." And now it just becomes this absolute warfare. It's a warfare, and it's sad to see, but I think it stemmed from guys having a terrible terrible, terrible communication pattern. Anyway, would you agree?
I agree. Um, yeah, I mean, I think the communication. I mean, for me, uh, the communication was a bit of a different problem. It started because of the lack of communication. The relationships started to get a little bit toxic, and I think we both just, you know, kind of grew a little bit sick of it. But there was even I think even not before. Sorry, I'm giving you a word sandwich, but
No worries. My phone's gonna die at 1%, so the show's gonna be over. So get your last statement out.
more than before the breakup. I think the worst lack of communication was after, and that's where I really learned that communication is really important.
So, Mr. Matthias Tibbs Everett, Jesse, thank you for coming on to the Roman Madero Show. We're going to have you on again, by the way.
Okay.
I loved our conversation. There's so many
Me
other
too.
things that we were going to touch on, but it's okay. God bless you, my friend. Shout out Friday
Thank
Eve
you.
Hats. You guys got to go to his Instagram, DM him, and you guys are going to go get your $20 hats. You guys are going to have a great time. You guys are going to go rep them at the fair. Why not, right? Matthias, any final words from you, my friend?
Um, I'm really thankful for our friendship. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you.
Wear Friday's Eve on Instagram, and best of luck to you, Mr. Medeiros.
God bless you, my friend. We'll keep in touch. Take care. Thank you for coming on.
Okay. All right.